Hi guys, it's Michelle from Little Mama's House. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to complete a tutorial on how to dye Chanel Lambskin using Kelly's leather dye. This is a requested tutorial, but I finally had a customer send me a Chanel piece to do, so I'd like to show you how it's done. So what I have here is our subject. This is a Chanel Lambskin wallet. If any of you are Chanel fans, you know that Chanel comes in several different leathers. This is the lambskin. It doesn't have much of a texture to it, whereas the Chanel caviar leather is more of a pebbled leather. So this is a nice smooth leather. And it's a small wallet, so it should dye it pretty quickly. The customer would like it dyed, all the leather dyed inside and out, so we're going to do that for her. I have my dye. Today I'm using Kelly's professional dye. It's the same as the Fiebings dye. In fact, Fiebings owns Kelly's. Kelly's is their professional line. So this is just what my cobbler happened to have when I went shopping. So I have Kelly's leather dye. It is alcohol based. It is black. I have acetone nail polish remover, and I'm going to use this to deglaze the wallet because the lambskin leather does have a slight sheen to it, which means it needs to be deglazed before the leather dye will absorb in and stick. If you do not deglaze the piece before you begin, the leather dye will sit on the top more like a paint because you need to take off the top layer, if you will, in order to get the dye to really seep in and saturate the leather and leave a good finish. So I like to use the acetone polish remover. You can also use some isopropyl alcohol if that's what you have on hand. It does the same job, or they do make a commercial product that you can buy, either Fiebings or Kelly's make a dye prep product, but it's the same thing. So they just charge a lot more for it because it says dye prep, but it's the same ingredients. I have a variety of paintbrushes in multiple different sizes, as well as my cotton dauber, which is my favorite tool for this type of project where I don't have to be super careful about piping or edges. And I have two old socks of mine. One is for applying the acetone to the project, and one is for wiping the layers of dye to prevent streakiness. You don't want to get those two mixed up. I use a pink sock or a formally pink sock for my acetone so that I know that this is the acetone sock and that this is the wiping sock. If you get those confused, then you're going to be wiping your final project back with acetone and taking off all the hard work you just did. So keep those separate. So, okay, let's go ahead and get started. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and deglaze the wallet. There's not a lot of junk on it. It's pretty clean. It's in good condition. So I'm going to go ahead and apply my deglazer. And in a project like this, I like to try to work in sections. So I look for the seams in the project, and that tells me which pieces need to be dyed at the same time in order to look proper and not have streaking. So as you can see, the way this wallet is made, the whole exterior is one piece. So what I'm going to do is start with that. But before I do it, I think where I will begin is actually on the trim, because the trim is a separate little rolled edge. And if I do that first, I can be a little bit messy and not have to worry about it coming onto the body of the wallet. And then later that sort of line will just disappear when I come back over with my swabber and swab the whole thing. So I'm going to go ahead and take my filthy acetone sock. I use this for another black dye project, so it's fine to use again because I'm doing black again this time. Otherwise, I would just go get another old sock. I have tons of these. And I just put a little bit of acetone on it, and very gently I'm going to wipe down the edge of the piping on the wallet. I don't want to scrub too hard. I don't want to actually take anything really off of the wallet. I don't want to destroy it. Now this customer wants the inside done too, so I don't have to worry about getting any acetone on the inside. It's not going to hurt it. I'm just going to very gently swab that piping along the edge, okay? And I'm also going to go ahead at this time and rub down the outside flap, because if any dye gets on it, we might as well make sure that it soaks in and doesn't leave a pool on there. And again, just gently wipe it. There's no real wrong way to do this. You don't want to scrub hard, but as long as you're being gentle, you're not going to hurt it. I know there's a big taboo around calf skin leather that it's very fragile and that it scratches easily. But you know what? The good thing about it is it can be dyed, so it gives new life to these pieces that otherwise would be destined for the trash heap. And that's great because people can get a piece that they otherwise couldn't afford for much, much less and just sort of fix it up and then have basically a new to them piece that looks excellent and has lots of years left. There's quality made products, so they'll last forever. Okay, so that's all well wiped down with my acetone, so should any get on there, it's going to just absorb right on in. So now what I'm going to do is taking my cotton swabber, I'm going to dip right into my black dye and start applying dye to the edges of the wallet. And what I like to do is open it up. Let's see if you can see this. I open it up, I stick my hand in there like a mitten, and that's how I hold it. It just sort of helps not get dye on your fingers. Normally I would wear gloves. I don't happen to have any right now. Whoops. So I'm trying not to make myself a huge mess, but I'm sure I will. So I'm just going to go ahead first and start by just coating these edges with my swabber, so you can see. And, you know, again, this whole thing is going to be black with the exception of a very few pieces on the inside of the wallet, which we'll get to later. So you don't have to worry if you get it on the face of the wallet. Don't panic. That's why we wiped it with our acetone at the start so that when it gets on there, it's not just sitting on there making a puddle.
This is too long, Dad. What? Yes. And you see this where they went up on the. What is that? Look, they go up on the container.
Okay, so I've gone ahead and done all the edges and of course made a mess of myself, but now what I want to do is just come back over with my other sock and just wipe any excess that got on there off. We don't want any pooling. We don't want the dye to sit an overlong time on there. We will do multiple coats on this, so if there is any spot you missed, you can always just get it on the next coat. It's not that big of a deal, but you do not want, what you don't want is pooling or puddling because that'll result in a streaky finish. So I've gone ahead, I've just wiped that over. I see a big spot I missed here, so I'm just going to take my brush with a finer tip where I can reach in there and just touch that up. And that's the difference too, guys, between a sloppy looking, sort of home looking dye job and something that's more professional looking is taking the time to look for those little details that you might miss if you're just sort of slopping the dye on and not really looking over your work. As you can see, so there's a crease. It's very hard to see actually. In this piece of leather is actually two bonded together. And this is the pocket, so that's not what I mean. This piece up here is actually two pieces and it's bonded together. And you can see the red in between where it's bonded. And so if you don't take your time and go back and over and get that, it will show in your finished product. So just keep that in mind when you're doing a project like this, that you want to be mindful of any place where two pieces of leather come together like this, is that eventually they're going to start to open a little bit with use. And if you don't get your brush down in there and dye that, it's going to show the original color through. So okay, I've gone ahead and I've dyed the edges. And now what I'm just going to come back and do is start dyeing the main body of the wallet. And I just dip in to my dye. And this, guys, is just like doing any other leather. It really is. You just want to swipe it on quickly so it doesn't puddle, making sure to get in those seams. Now on the Chanel, you have that quilted leather, so it's going to settle in those seams if you're not quick. You do want to get it in there because, especially on a piece that's this color, it's red, the stitching used is red, and so if you don't get it in there, that red stitching will show through, but you also don't, at the same time, you don't want that to puddle up in there and leave a streaky mess because it won't look right. So quickly but efficiently move your swab over the leather. Okay. It's one side done, and this is really quick, guys. It really doesn't take long to do this. The interior takes a lot longer because you have to be more careful, but really, this just dyes up like a little dream. It's really quick. You can probably, other than the 24-hour dry time, you can definitely complete this project in an afternoon. Now I'm just working my way down to the other side, and I just lay that flat there. It's already pretty dry. It's not going anywhere, and I've protected my table with a trash bag, so I'm not worried about it. I just go right over the hardware. That's going to get cleaned up at the end. Dye comes right off of it. It's not a big deal. Okay, and then what I do is I take my brush and I just go back around close to the hardware to get any spots that I missed. It's hard to get that big dauber in there. So come back in with my brush. Get the dye in those nooks and crannies. You guys can talk as long as you're not that loud. I can edit you out. All right, so now that the dye has been applied to the exterior, I come back with my wiping sock. I put it on like a glove, and I just wipe down everything I've just dyed, making sure that there's no pooling, there's no puddling, the dye job is smooth, there's no spots that are missing or that the dye isn't sticking. And I just buff it out. Okay, and so there you go. That's the first coat done. You can see it still maintains its shine. We will seal it with leather sheen, and it will get back that like caviar sort of finish. It's not going to look highly shiny. It'll look like a regular caviar wallet. But so there you can see, if you look at it from the front, that looks like it's pretty good. It's not too bad. But, there's still lots of detail left to fix up and to do. And you just do these parts like you would do how I just showed you. There's really nothing different about dyeing this part than there is doing this part, except that you want to be careful not to get it on the canvas sections of the wallet. You only want the leather to get dyed, and you just leave those little extra trim pieces, the red. So what I'm going to do now is work my way around the rest of the wallet. I'll let you watch. I'll turn on some music for you and just let you observe, because there's nothing really to tell you that's any different than what I just did. And I'll check back in with you when the whole thing is black. Okay guys, so here you have it. Now this only has one coat on it, and I just went in and gave a quick clean to the hardware just so you can see I didn't fully clean it. I just rubbed some leather conditioner on it to just remove the excess dye so that you can actually see how it's going to look when it's finished. But here we go. So what I've done, and in real time this took me just about a little bit over an hour. So, you know, I've been doing this for a while. I'm moved pretty quickly through, but for those of you who are new to dyeing, it's an easy enough project as long as you go slow. So again, this will all need another coat once it's dried for 24 hours, but I'm just going to do the exact same thing I did, and I'll show you. I've dyed the gussets on both sides, and then on the inside, we have dyed all of the leather trim out. So we've left all of this sateen, which was red. We didn't want to touch that, but we've dyed all of the leather trim. And this can be, you know, it's a process you just want to take your time with. If you haven't done this before, just go really slow. You can tape off. I don't. I have a very steady hand. I have a lot of experience with craft painting. But the more meticulous you are with it, the better your outcome is going to be. So you see I've even gone as far as doing the tiny little bit of leather trim that's inside the zipper pocket and the little zipper pull. So all of that has been dyed out. Okay, and then what I was trying to point out as I was going is that you don't need to worry too much about the silver or gold, if you have gold hardware, Chanel embossing, because the dye just rubs right off of that. So if some gets on there, it's not a big deal. You just rub it right off, and then it comes off even further when you use seal it with your leather sheen, and then rub it down with your leather conditioner. That just gets any excess on there that's off. So there you have it. What I'm going to do is I will give this another coat once it's dried for 24 hours, and then I will seal it with my Fiebings leather sheen using the same leather sheen method that I use on vernis or on vachetta. Put it on a cloth, wipe it on, rub it off until it's well sealed and no transfers coming off on me, and then I give the whole thing a rub down with my leather conditioner to ensure that it's nice and smooth and supple. But the feeling and the texture and the look of the lambskin has not changed. It's still soft, it's still smooth, it still feels and looks like lambskin. In fact, it looks a little bit like it's got some of its shine back. Of course, the piece is not finished. It will be have a slightly nicer sheen when it's finished. But here is all dyed up, and that is how you dye Chanel lambskin leather using regular leather dye. So as always, please subscribe so that you don't miss any more helpful and fun tutorials, and thanks for watching. Bye.